It is Monday, March 22nd, 2021, and you're listening to Local News Live, a production of AOC Community Media in partnership with the Acadiana Advocate. Their team of journalists print the stories important to our community and state, and we are happy to read you some of those stories. You can hear Local News Live Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on AOC One, the AOC Community Media channel on YouTube, and on Cypress Street Radio at aocinc.org/CS Radio. You can find the print versions of these stories and more at theadvocate.com. We couldn't bring you this community service without the generosity of our volunteer newsreaders. Today, we're joined by Phyllis Grifford. Welcome to Local News Live, Phyllis.
Thanks.
Thanks so much for reading today. I know we have a few headlines, so I'm going to get out of the way and go listen on Cypress Street.
Good morning. In Acadiana, what a warrior. At 97, June Duvall isn't just surviving the pandemic, she's thriving. By Megan Wyatt, staff writer. While many have complained about all they've missed out on over the past year, it would seem that June Duvall could one-up anyone. The 97-year-old woman, who is physically active and mentally sharper than ever, has been largely confined to her apartment at an assisted living facility for the past year. Yet the only real complaint Duvall has is that she can't dine at her favorite restaurants or shop at the mall. Quote, "I'm not the kind of person that dwells on the bad things because there are too many of them. I mean, I would be overwhelmed," Duvall said. Quote, "And so the last year has been the same as all my years. My activities did not change much. My attitude did not change. I did what I have always done. And in my mind, I know it's a very, very serious situation, but I've never been a worrier. I continue to seek God daily for his wisdom on what to do in this crisis," end quote. Duvall has not only kept a positive outlook during a year of isolation, she's also inspired those around her to do the same. She spends her days reading the Bible, solving Sudoku puzzles, scrolling through Instagram, calling family members, going for walks, and taking fitness classes. Quote, "Miss June is great," said Mona Folse, executive director of the Blake at Lafayette. Quote, "She sits out in the sun every day for vitamin D, shares Bible study with both assisted living and memory care, walks away from negativity. She's a genuine, positive, and cool person," end quote. Dr. Brittany Hebert, a Lafayette internist who specializes in geriatric medicine, has been continuously inspired by her patient, especially during the pandemic. Quote, "This whole past year, there was a lot of, oh well, they're old, they're going to die anyway, that sort of thing," Hebert said. Quote, "I think she really encapsulates that you can have a beautiful, meaningful, enjoyable life at any age, and that we all will want the years that we have left." Hebert has pushed the community to take the pandemic seriously from the start. She spent a good deal of her time fighting misinformation on social media surrounding the virus, mask usage, and vaccines. She also traveled to New York City last spring to help treat coronavirus patients at a field hospital and launched a COVID-19 vaccine scheduling hotline earlier this month. The doctor said that older people have not only suffered from more serious illness and greater isolation during the pandemic, but also from discrimination. Quote, "Disposable. That's how people have treated them. That's been heartbreaking," Hebert said. Quote, "And then I see someone like her, and she's managed to keep a good attitude. She's extremely bright, just a very insightful person," end quote. Duvall, who has significant vision and hearing loss, but is otherwise healthy, isn't just surviving a pandemic, she's thriving. She's even writing a book. A few questions from her great-grandchildren at the beginning of the COVID-19 quarantine sparked the idea. Her granddaughter is sending her prompts and compiling her writings into a full-fledged book. Quote, I said, let's do one writing prompt every week, and you'll write it up and mail it to me so I can compile it into a book, said Leslie Karamidas. Quote, and she's a take charge kind of person. She sometimes doesn't go with my prompts and decides to write her own. And now she has a title for the book and titles for all the chapters, end quote. Duvall's book is called, quote, Light in the Darkness, Rays of Sunshine for Days of Darkness. She's planning to have 52 short chapters, one for each week of the year, that can serve as an inspiration to others. Karamidas, 39, said the project has been a special way to connect with her grandmother at a time when she's been unable to see her in person. Although Karamidas grew up in Africa and now lives in Georgia, she has always been especially close to her grandmother. The two grew even closer after the 2007 death of Diane Duvall Ottenweller, mother to Karamidas and daughter of Duvall, and the 2008 death of Leslie Duvall, grandfather to Karamidas and husband to Duvall. Quote, she is my hero, my best friend, the other pea in my pod, my spiritual advisor, the president of my fan club, the place I call home, and one of the greatest treasures I have ever been given by God, Karamidas said. Quote, she is impressive to everyone who knows her. Both Karamidas and Duvall have an adventurous spirit they say is unmatched by anyone else in the family. That bond was solidified 12 years ago when the duo went dog sledding during a trip to Alaska. Karamidas said she still vividly remembers disembarking from the helicopter onto a glacier with her grandmother. With steel-spiked shoes on their feet, Karamidas said she worried that her grandmother, then 86, might slip and fall on the icy ground. Quote, but she was unafraid. She was just living a dream, Karamidas said. Quote, it was just so magical to do that with her. I don't know how to describe it. It was the perfect day and the perfect experience together. Just one of the greatest moments of my life, end quote. Karamidas, who grew up overseas as the daughter of missionaries, said the elderly were often viewed less favorably in America than other parts of the world. Quote, old people in the U.S. are seen as very disposable. They're people we see as a burden or irrelevant. Their wisdom is dated and no longer pertinent to us. We see them as a hindrance to us in many ways. We don't see much that they can give us, Karamidas said. But growing up overseas, specifically in Africa, the elderly were a treasure. They were your greatest treasure. They were the source of the greatest wisdom, the deepest wisdom. They're highly respected more than anyone else in the community. Quote, I think we've seen these values reflected with our approach with COVID. People get weary with protecting older people, like they're not worthy of the protocol. There's not a village mentality. It's about me and my freedoms. It's not about protecting everyone in our community, end quote. Duvall and her family have managed to survive the pandemic without becoming sick from the novel coronavirus. They're cautiously optimistic that the worst is over now that vaccines are widely available in Louisiana. 3 residents of the Blake, Lafayette, were sick with COVID-19 during the past year, according to a company spokesman. 2 of the 3 died. Louisiana recently loosened visitation restrictions at communal living facilities, including the Blake, where 90 out of 91 residents have been fully vaccinated. Quote, What changed with visitation was a direct result of the vaccines, said Caroline Barry, spokesperson for the Blake. Quote, "We had 3 different vaccine clinics. They didn't have to get on a list or leave to get the vaccine." Now, with nearly all of the residents and staff fully vaccinated, Barry said the Blake is planning to offer clinics for the community at large. Like most of her daughters, Duvall is now fully vaccinated against COVID-19 and can hug her loved ones again. She's planning to dine at her favorite restaurants and shop at her favorite stores in the coming weeks. Duvall also recently embraced her daughter, Cindy Duvall, for the first time in nearly a year. Cindy Duvall of Scott has taken her mother to and from doctor appointments and has delivered groceries to her apartment during the pandemic. But those interactions can't replace a real hug. Quote, "She's shrunk," Cindy Duvall said with a laugh as she remembered the moment she finally embraced her mom again. Quote, "You have this little person that you wrap your arms around and you just smell her hair and you touch her skin. This person who gave you life. And you're just thinking, what a warrior this person is who can have this positive attitude," end quote. Tears replaced Cindy Duvall's laughter as she spoke. Quote, "I'm 74 years old and my mother is still alive," Cindy Duvall said, her voice breaking. Quote, "It makes me feel so blessed. I've had her for 74 years and her memory is great. I guess I just took it for granted that I'd be able to walk into her apartment anytime I wanted. You don't think about it until you can't do it," end quote. It's been well over a year since Carmitas has been able to embrace her grandmother. Aside from video calls, Carmitas has only seen her grandmother once during the pandemic, through a glass window last year while traveling to a funeral. Carmitas had booked a trip to Lafayette for March 2020, but had to cancel it as the country shut down at the beginning of the pandemic. She's hoping to reschedule that trip in the coming weeks, as long as it is safe to do so. As for June Duvall, she's planning to continue living her life to the fullest and inspiring those around her to do the same. Quote, "People talk about how they're going down mentally, and they say, 'Oh, I am so old,'" Duvall said. "I say, look, age is just a number. It's how you feel. I'm glad I'm this old." Public service announcement. United Way of Acadiana offering free tax preparation. The United Way of Acadiana is offering free tax preparation services through its Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, VITA, program. The program provides low and moderate income individuals and families with free, reliable assistance with filing federal tax returns. There are 12 filing locations participating this year throughout the Acadiana region. Most locations are by appointment only due to COVID-19 safety restrictions. Visit unitedwayofacadiana.org/VITA, VITA, for site locations, opening dates, and to make appointments. For additional resources, visit myfreetaxes.com to learn more about alternate free or low-cost filing options currently available. The VITA program is just one way the United Way of Acadiana is working to help individuals and families achieve and maintain financial stability. Learn about additional programs by visiting unitedwayofacadiana.org. Lafayette student reporter interviews Michelle Obama. Encounter reveals inside scoop on new Netflix show by Katie Galliano, staff writer. What do former First Lady Michelle Obama, ballet dancer Misty Copeland, and Louisiana's First Lady Donna Edwards have in common? They've all been interviewed by Scholastic Kid reporter Joriel Tapo, a sixth grader at LJ Alamont Fine Arts Academy. Joriel, a reporter from Scholastic Kids Press, was tapped to participate in a Zoom roundtable discussion with Obama and 5 other kid reporters and bloggers from organizations like Time for Kids and Nickelodeon to discuss Obama's new Netflix show, Waffles and Mochi. The kids' show, which premiered Tuesday, is a co-production between Netflix and the Obama's Higher Ground Productions. The 12-year-old said she had roughly a week to prepare for the interview from the time her editor selected her for the job until interview day on March 10th. Joriel said she, her parents, and 2 younger sisters were provided an advance copy of the series to watch in the lead up to the interview. And from there, she brainstormed questions for the former First Lady. Quote, I had to get straight on it. I had a little bit of time, but that's the life of being a reporter. You have to be ready for anything, Joriel said. The kid reporter said it was a, quote, dream come true, end quote, to speak with Obama, who's one of her personal role models. Her whole family was yelling and cheering when they found out about the interview, she said. Joriel said Obama is an inspiration to her as the first Black First Lady in U.S. history, and as a woman who continues to strive for success and improvement. She said representation matters, and seeing Obama enter new spaces as a Black woman makes her feel like she and all other Black girls can do it too. It can be daunting speaking with your role model, but Joriel said Obama was how she imagined. Quote, she was a poised woman, like I always thought. That was the same image that I thought she would be, a really nice, pretty, classy, and friendly woman, she said. Quote, the interview made me feel so thankful and great because when you set your mind to something and it comes true, that's a big deal, she said. Joriel's mother, Leah Tapo, said she cried when she first heard the news Joriel was chosen from nearly 50 kid reporters to speak with Obama. The family, including Joriel's 4-year-old and 7-year-old sisters, huddled in the room to listen in on the interview experience. Tapo said she was so excited that afterward, the details of the conversation were a blur. The family has since watched the video of the interview dozens of times, she said. Quote, it's almost like you're holding your breath because it's like, oh my gosh, this is really happening. It was so exciting that afterwards I was like, I don't even remember what she said. What did she say? I knew Joriel was laughing, looking from the side. I could see Michelle Obama laughing. I could hear Waffles and Mochi doing their things, but I thought, what actually just happened? She chuckled. Outside of speaking with Obama, Joriel said the experience was also exciting because she got an early look at the Netflix show. The middle schooler said she's an avid Netflix viewer and is always scoping out fun and interesting new kids shows. She felt special knowing while other people were seeing previews for the show, she'd gotten to watch it more than a week before it streamed. The show follows Waffles, a hybrid waffle yeti puppet, and Mochi, an animated Japanese rice cake filled with ice cream, who begin working at a supermarket run by Obama. The duo travel around the world with the help of a magical shopping cart and a lineup of special guests, including Chef Jose Andres and comedian Jack Black, to learn about the origin and biology of different foods, their uses, and how to cook in an effort to become chefs. Joriel said she particularly loved the second episode, in which Waffles and Mochi learn about salt and travel to the salt ponds of Masa, Peru, to learn about how families have farmed salt for generations. Salt water flows down the area's mountains, and when the water evaporates, the farmers are left with salt to harvest. Joriel said it looked like salt waterfalls pouring down the mountain. Tapo said she enjoyed how the show folded in lessons in geography, culture, history, science, and the arts. The educational format was fun even for adults, and her picky eaters were enamored with the different foods the characters whipped up and wanted to branch out and try them, even for foods they despised, she said. Joriel said her parents' interest in the show inspired her question for Obama. When the 12-year-old asked, quote, "How do you think the series is able to captivate a more mature audience in addition to a younger crowd?" The former First Lady said she liked the project because it captured her imagination. Quote, "Waffles and Mochi can speak to adults who want to spend time with their kids while learning about great food," she said. Joriel is in her second year as a Scholastic Kid reporter and said she hopes to participate in the program until she ages out at 15. Over her 2 years reporting, Joriel said she's grown stronger as a writer, interviewer, and researcher, learning how to dig deep on topics and improve her recall during interviews. Joriel said she loves the program because it's a learning outlet outside of school, and it's helped her meet and build relationships with new people. Her mother said the work has broadened her daughter's worldview, and she's building skills she'll use for a lifetime. I think these experiences are exposing her to so many different aspects and different careers. When she is ready to truly pick something, she's going to have a little bit more of an insight into what career could be for her. I think this opportunity is also exposing her to different things that she could use. Regardless of where she goes in life, she's going to need writing skills, grammar skills, public speaking skills. She's going to need to be able to effectively communicate with people. Who knows where she'll end up? But I know she'll be equipped with whatever she needs to be successful in life, Tapo said. Shots fired near UL Saturday. Crime blotter. Advocate staff reports. Lafayette police responded to a shots fired call Saturday night near the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, according to a report by KATC TV. The university sent a text message to students instructing them to stay out of the area near Whittington Drive and Johnston Street, where police were responding. The alert described a possible suspect as a white male wearing a white hoodie and a red bandana. KATC reported at about 10 p.m. Saturday a police presence on and around Oak Crest Drive. Lafayette police confirmed that shots were fired, but no suspect or victim was found. Shell casings were found in the roadway, police said. Today in History by the Associated Press. Today is Monday, March 22nd, the 81st day of 2021. There are 284 days left in the year. Today's highlights in history. On March 22nd, 1941, the Grand Coulee Hydroelectric Dam in Washington State officially went into operation. On this date, in 1820, U.S. naval hero Stephen Decatur was killed in a duel with Commodore James Barron near Washington, D.C. In 1882, President Chester Alan Arthur signed a measure outlawing polygamy. In 1894, hockey's first Stanley Cup championship game was played. Home team Montreal defeated Ottawa 3-1. In 1945, the Arab League was formed with the adoption of a charter in Cairo, Egypt. In 1976, principal photography for the first Star Wars movie, directed by George Lucas, began in Tunisia. In 1987, a garbage barge carrying 3,200 tons of refuse left Islip, New York on a 6-month journey in search of a place to unload. The barge was turned away by several states and 3 other countries until space was found back in Islip. In 1988, both houses of Congress overrode President Ronald Reagan's veto of the Civil Rights Restoration Act. In 1991, high school instructor Pamela Smart, accused of recruiting her teenage lover and his friends to kill her husband Gregory, was convicted in Exeter, New Hampshire, of murder, conspiracy, and being an accomplice to murder, and was sentenced to life in prison without parole. In 1993, Intel Corporation unveiled the original Pentium computer chip. In 1997, Tara Lipinski, at age 14 years and 10 months, became the youngest ladies world figure skating champion in Lausanne, Switzerland. In 2010, Google Incorporated stopped censoring the internet for China by shifting its search engine off the mainland to Hong Kong. In 2019, Special Counsel Robert Mueller closed his Russia investigation with no new charges, delivering his final report to Justice Department officials. Former President Jimmy Carter became the longest living chief executive in American history. At 94 years and 172 days, he exceeded the lifespan of the late former President George H.W. Bush. 10 years ago, Yemen's U.S.-backed president, Ali Abdullah Saleh, his support crumbling among political allies and the army, warned that the country could slide into civil war as the opposition rejected his offer to step down by the end of the year. 5 years ago, capping a remarkable visit to Cuba, President Barack Obama sat beside President Raul Castro at a baseball game between Cuba's national team and the Tampa Bay Rays. The Rays won 4-1. 1 year ago, the Senate voted against advancing a $2 trillion coronavirus rescue package that Democrats said was tilted toward corporations, but negotiations continued. Approval would come by week's end. Today's birthdays. Composer-lyricist Stephen Sondheim is 91. Evangelist broadcaster Pat Robertson is 91. Actor William Shatner is 90. Former Senator Orrin Hatch, Republican of Utah, is 87. Actor Emmett Walsh is 86. Actor-singer Jeremy Clyde is 80. Singer-guitarist George Benson is 78. Writer James Patterson is 74. CNN newscaster Wolf Blitzer is 73. Composer Andrew Lloyd Webber is 73. Actor Fanny Ardant is 72. Sportscaster Bob Costas is 69. Country singer James House is 66. Actor Lena Olin is 66. Singer-actor Stephanie Mills is 64. Actor Matthew Modine is 62. Actor-comedian Keegan-Michael Key is 50. Actor Will Yun Lee is 50. Olympic silver medal figure skater Elvis Stoico is 49. Actor Guillermo Diaz is 46. Actor Ann Dudek is 46. Actor Cole Hauser is 46. Actor Kelly Williams is 45. Actor Reese Witherspoon is 45. Zodiac. Aries, March 21st to April 19th. A passionate approach to life, love, and learning will lead to opportunity. Choose to do what's best for you instead of helping someone get ahead. Physical fitness will encourage better health. Taurus, April 20th to May 20th. Refuse to let your emotions step in when discipline is required. You'll discover a reason to pause before you start something new. Discuss your ideas with important people in your life. Gemini, May 21st to June 20th. Educate yourself and make personal adjustments before you make a major decision. An opportunity is worthwhile only if it's something that will improve your life. Cancer, June 21st to July 22nd. Express your feelings and clear up any uncertainty. Use your imagination and be descriptive regarding your plans, but don't be misleading. Take better care of your health. Leo, July 23rd to August 22nd. Personal planning will lead to better health, greater confidence, and enthusiastic support from someone who shares your mindset. Incorporate physical fitness into your everyday routine. Virgo, August 23rd to September 22nd. Stop pondering what to do and take a leap of faith. Let your heart lead the way and allow the people you know and trust to help you reach your destination. Share with someone special. Libra, September 23rd to October 23rd. Refuse to let an emotional incident hinder your efficiency. Focus on what you need to achieve, not on what someone does or says. Let go of detrimental old habits. Scorpio, October 24th to November 22nd. Try doing things differently, and you will discover things about yourself that will help you get ahead. Tidy up loose ends and indulge in something that brings you peace of mind. Sagittarius, November 23rd to December 21st. Less talk and more action will help you get where you want to go. Put a little muscle behind your dreams, and you'll achieve what you set out to do. Capricorn, December 22nd to January 19th. Protect your physical and emotional health. It's essential to take a break and assess your situation before you bring about change. Don't get angry if someone has other ideas about the future. Aquarius, January 20th to February 19th. A creative outlet will ease stress. Spend time with someone who shares your passion. A solid plan for major progress will develop. Added discipline will get you where you want to go. Pisces, February 20th to March 20th. A change will help you get on with your life. Consider the things that make you happy and pursue them. Surround yourself with people who bring out the best in you. The horoscope, an entertainment feature, is not based on scientific fact. State. Louisiana daycares in line for unprecedented $773 million by Will Sintel and Della Hassel. Staff writers. Louisiana's hard-hit daycare industry is in store for a $773 million infusion from the $1.9 trillion federal stimulus bill to help operators with coronavirus expenses and parents by expanding access to sites. The daycares, like lots of businesses, have suffered major losses during the pandemic. About 70% were closed at one time last year amid plummeting attendance. Losses totaling about $100 million in the middle of 2020 rose to about $245 million through the end of January, according to officials familiar with the industry. The stimulus bill, called the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, includes about $476 million for the state's child care centers and $297 million to expand access for low-income families, according to the Center for Law and Social Policy. The money can be used for salaries, rent, maintenance of the facilities, personal protective equipment, and COVID-19 related supplies, the group said. Quote, "We already had a child care crisis prior to the pandemic," said Jenna Chasson, Assistant Superintendent for the Office of Teaching and Learning at the State Department of Education. Quote, "We know that we had families who had trouble affording child care providers already struggling to stay afloat." COVID-19 exacerbated that. Quote, "This funding is going to really carry opportunities to stabilize the sector," Chasson said. The legislation includes $39 billion for child care centers nationwide. Louisiana's allocation is the 14th largest in the U.S. The latest addition means the state will have collected more than $1 billion in federal stimulus dollars for child care. Some advocates have cheered that the $1.9 trillion measure includes money for the child care industry and for parents who need to care for their youngest learners. However, Kenneth Francis, the Director of Policy and Child Advocacy for the nonprofit Agenda for Children, cautioned that the officials should be careful about how to allocate the one-time federal dollars so they don't end up covering expenses that should be funded through permanent revenue. For instance, he's wary of using the money to fund more child care seats for families through the Child Care Assistance Program, a state-run initiative that uses federal money to help low-income families pay for education for kids under the age of 4. If the funds aren't recurring, more families could be served only to end up on a wait list after they dry up, Francis said. Quote, "This is an unprecedented, historic amount of money, no doubt," Francis said, "but people are going to be very wary of doing anything recurring with this money, knowing it's going to run out at some point. Because if we're going to leave families and providers in the lurch, that's a scenario we all desperately want to avoid," end quote. Chasson said the stimulus money will allow the state to pay child care centers based on enrollment rather than attendance. Regardless of how the money is spent, local advocates say data shows the need for a flexible influx of cash in the child care industry, particularly in the New Orleans and East Baton Rouge parish markets. Louisiana Department of Education enrollment data for 2019, compiled by the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children, shows that 2 out of 3 young children have both parents or they're single parent in the workforce, meaning they're likely in need of care. But in New Orleans, only 37% have been able to access publicly funded seats in daycare, leaving over 9,200 children in the lurch, including an estimated 92% of the city's low-income infants. In East Baton Rouge, only 34% of children in need from birth through age 4 have access, leaving over 10,500 children in need. Daycare centers are struggling too, although only 2 centers in the New Orleans area remain closed from when businesses shut down in spring 2020, as most non-essential worker parents stayed home with their children. Plenty have suffered financial losses, according to an Agenda for Children report called Struggling to Recover. In fall 2020, 59% of New Orleans centers said that one of their biggest challenges is that, quote, "costs are exceeding revenue," according to the report. And 3/4 said that financial support was one of their top 3 needs, with more than half ranking it number 1. Meanwhile, a Louisiana Policy Institute for Children study from June concluded that 77% of daycares statewide suffered average losses of $110,000 per business, translating to an estimated $137.5 million statewide. Francis said those numbers have only grown since. Rochelle Wilcox, the founder of 3 Wilcox Academy of Early Learning daycares in New Orleans' 7th Ward and Central City, said hers are among those that suffered. She's spent $31,000 on protective equipment and things like plexiglass partitions, and her daycares are still not operating at full capacity. Before the pandemic, Wilcox's 3 centers provided care to 155 children, with a wait list of 124 kids. Her daycares now have 101 children, a decline that's forced her to cut 36 employees down to 24. Quote, "People are just afraid to bring their babies. They're unsure," she said. Wilcox said she's still trying to figure out how to fairly use federal funds that are already allocated. For instance, she thinks raises are deserved for her teachers, who make between $12 and $15 an hour, and says child care workers in general are grossly underpaid. Bureau of Labor Statistics data show the average salary for a kindergarten teacher in Louisiana is $45,200, compared with $20,320 for a child care worker. However, she's also concerned about sustainability. Quote, "My concern is that while it's great to give teachers incentives, it can't adversely affect the child care center," she said. "I don't want to give a certain amount of money for just 6 months for them to wonder where it went." Cheryl Pointer, owner and director of Treasures from Heaven in Baton Rouge, said her center can always use financial assistance, but things are much improved over 2020 when the site was closed between March and May. "We are doing wonderful," Pointer said. "Everything is going really good." A total of 99% of centers have opened statewide, state officials said. Pointer's site is at capacity, 27 children ranging from 6 weeks to age 4, and has a waiting list as well. Quote, "We are just limiting adults coming to the building unless it is a state official or an employee," she said. River Pilot's governor clash over political connections. Board says law not followed and files suit. By Sam Carlin and John Simmerman, staff writers. Last week, Governor John Bell Edwards announced he appointed the son of John Alario Jr., a key political ally, to the board that regulates the Mississippi River pilots who navigate massive shipping vessels between New Orleans and Baton Rouge. Now, a legal controversy has erupted over the move. The board filed a scathing lawsuit on Wednesday, alleging that the governor skirted the law while ignoring Kevin Alario's accident history as a river pilot when naming him and another captain, Casey Clayton, to the board. There were no vacancies until 2027 on a board with 3 members who served 12-year terms, according to the lawsuit filed in St. Tammany Parish against Kevin Alario and Clayton, both residents of the parish. Edwards replaced 2/3 of the board as a political favor, the suit alleges, and as payback for the board's February 26th decision to discipline Kevin Alario over a 2017 river crash. The lawsuit claims the board, quote, received heavy pressure from Edwards' office to, quote, not take any disciplinary action against Alario before it acted. Matthew Block, Executive counsel to Edwards on Friday called that allegation, quote, categorically false. Neither Edwards, quote, nor anybody who works for the governor pressured them to do anything other than give Captain Ilario a fair hearing in rendering a punishment that they may have found necessary, Block said. Any suggestion otherwise is just not true. The suit is noteworthy for two reasons. Its defendant is the son of a Louisiana political legend who played a key role in shepherding the Democratic governor's agenda through the Republican-dominated legislature during Edwards' first term. And the plaintiff is the Board of Examiners for the New Orleans and Baton Rouge steamship pilots, and its president, Robert Heitmeyer, brother of former State Senator Francis Heitmeyer, long a close friend and ally of John Ilario. Edwards' administration, though, says Robert Heitmeyer isn't a member of the board anymore. The suit asks a judge to block the appointments of Kevin Ilario and Clayton and to declare that board members may be removed only for cause. Quote, Governor Edwards is appointing Kevin Ilario while ignoring the plain legal requirements and safety of this state's waterways, and thus its citizens, in an effort to appease his political ally, John Ilario, the suit alleges. The board oversees a politically connected bunch of river pilots tasked by state law with helping steer foreign shipping vessels through the bends of the Mississippi. The New Orleans and Baton Rouge Steamship Pilots Association is one of three pilot groups that work segments of the Mississippi River from its mouth to Baton Rouge, where they exert considerable influence at the state capitol. For years, the pilots have won pay raises, to the chagrin of the chemical industry and others that pay for their services, and that trend has continued in recent years. Edwards miffed the chemical industry in 2018 when he appointed allies of the river pilots to an independent board that decides the question of how much the pilots are paid. The answer? Quite well. Most of the pilots who traverse the waters between New Orleans and Baton Rouge made $500,000 to $700,000 in 2020. Regulatory filings show. The Pilots Political Action Committee gave $50,000 to a super PAC supporting Edwards in 2017. Campaign filings show that pilots and their spouses donated thousands of dollars more to Edwards in 2019, amid a close race for re-election against the Donald Trump-backed Republican candidate, Eddie Risponi. Francis Heitmeyer, the powerful former state senator from Algiers, is one of the group's lobbyists. His son, Corey Heitmeyer, joined Kevin Ilario in becoming a river pilot in 2000. But Edwards' move on March 12th to appoint Kevin Ilario and Clayton to the board effectively ousted Robert Heitmeyer, whom Governor Bobby Jindal appointed to the board in 2015. Quote, the Ilario and Heitmeyer families have been close for many, many years, and it's unfortunate it's come to this, said attorney Michael Reese, who filed the lawsuit for the board. Kevin Ilario did not return a call seeking comment. The suit says he may not serve under board regulations because of his involvement in a major 2017 accident on the river. According to a National Transportation Safety Board report, a 623-foot-long bulk carrier smashed into a concrete dock near New Orleans. The collision caused $1 million in damages to both the vessel and the wharf. The board's lawsuit says Kevin Ilario was pilot at the time of the crash, and last month, the board ordered him to undergo 80 hours of remediation training and classwork. Block confirmed that the governor named Kevin Ilario and Clayton to replace Robert Heitmeyer and William Lashley on the board. Edwards had appointed Lashley in 2016. The nominations are subject to approval from the state Senate, where John Ilario presided for years as its president before retiring in 2019. The 2021 legislative session begins next month. Block, meanwhile, rejected the lawsuit's allegations. He said Kevin Alario, quote, has been a river pilot for a long time, end quote, and that the governor has, quote, every confidence in Captain Alario's ability to be a strong and diligent board member, end quote. He said Edwards appointed Clayton as the first woman to chair the board because she's a, quote, tremendous leader. The purported 12-year terms are not based in law, Block said. He said the board's rule that pilots with a major incident on their record can't serve as members was made only this month. In any case, he said, the governor's authority to make appointments trumps board rules. While Edwards isn't named as a defendant in the suit, Block said it's likely the governor's office will intervene. Reese, the board's attorney, pointed to the state law that grants the governor the authority to appoint members to the board with the Senate's consent. The statute says the board, quote, shall make a recommendation to the governor to fill a vacancy on the board and that examiners, quote, shall be removable by the governor for cause. Reese said Edwards had no cause to replace 2 board members and, quote, unilaterally just appointed 2 members to a board that already has 3. End quote. The board is in an apparent power struggle while the legal drama plays out. Block insists Clayton and Kevin Alario are rightful board members, though he said Robert Heitmeyer and Lashley held a meeting anyway this week with the remaining board member, Lee Jackson. He said the 2 ousted members no longer hold that authority, though Reese said the board hasn't been notified of any removals. A hearing before Judge Alan Zonbrecker of the 22nd Judicial District is scheduled Friday. This has been Local News Live for March 22nd, 2021. I have been your reader, Phyllis Grifford. Join us at 9 a.m. Monday through Friday on AOC 1, Cypress Street Radio, or the AOC Community Media channel on YouTube. You can read these stories and more at theadvocate.com and find out how to volunteer and more at aocinc.org.